Most people think they can spot a narcissist by how they behave, but that leaves one massive blind spot wide open. I want to show you the 5 critical shifts, moves most people never make because they're too focused on the narcissist and not on the actual pattern. These 5 steps are the foundation of becoming unmanipulatable, and if you miss one of them, it can cost you everything. I've spent the last 20 years researching self-worth and narcissistic relationships. I teach clear, practical systems to help you stay grounded and powerful no matter who you're dealing with. Before you can spot manipulation in others, what you have to understand is what makes you vulnerable to it. Because while your eyes are on them, they're studying you. Narcissists are predators. They spend their entire lives learning what works. They're not looking for connection. They're looking for someone to use. Someone who will enhance their image, affirm their ego, or make them feel superior. And they know exactly what to look for. Your guilt, your fear of conflict, your need to prove that you're good or loyal or selfless or capable. Whatever you're broadcasting, they're reading. It's not an accident that certain types of narcissists have been attracted to you or repelled by you. They're responding to the signals that you're already sending. This is one of the hardest steps to do alone because by definition, a blind spot is hard to see. But for now, here's a starting point. Think about what tricks have worked on you in the past and why. For example, for me, one of the most effective tricks was someone who needed my help. I struggled so much with my own self-worth that if someone needed me, it made me feel valuable and it made me feel wanted. And that was enough to pull me in. This was my blind spot and I didn't see it until years later. I didn't realize how much I was broadcasting that to the universe, and I didn't realize how many predators were looking exactly for that trait. So that's the first move. You start paying attention to what's worked on you historically. Go person by person if you need to and see what patterns show up. What were they offering? What did you respond to? Imagine you're in this pool of sharks and they're circling and they're watching for a signal, something you were giving off without even realizing it. That's what step 1 is all about, learning what they see so that you can stop attracting them. Once you've spotted your own blind spots and you understand your motivation, then you turn your eyes towards the other person. This step is about clearly reading what you see in front of you before you try to put someone in a narcissist box. Some people manipulate to survive. Some people overreach because they're afraid. Some people are just sloppy with their energy and they don't know how to contain themselves. And yes, some people are narcissists, meaning that they're using you for supply and they have no interest in mutuality or respect or friendship or connection. So you have to learn how to tell the difference. We're not going to go into all the patterns here, but I'll give you a top-level overview, just enough to start recognizing what someone might be trying to get from you. Each person's motivation can show up in different ways: healthy, unhealthy, or narcissistic. And while the motivation might be the same across all 3, it gets sharper and more pronounced when it's coming from a narcissist. When you're watching someone's behavior, start by asking yourself, what kind of pattern am I seeing? Is it healthy, unhealthy, or narcissistic? That simple check can change the way that you interpret everything that comes next. The difference between healthy, unhealthy, and narcissistic usually comes down to the motivation and intention. 2 people might do the same thing. They might set a boundary, ask for space, show vulnerability, but the meaning behind it is completely different. A healthy person acts from self-responsibility. An unhealthy person might act from fear or insecurity. A narcissist acts with strategy because they're trying to get something, control something, or avoid being exposed. So that's what you're going to look for. What are they trying to get and why? Once you understand your blind spots and the type of manipulation that you tend to fall for, and once you've read the other person's motivation clearly, then you can start to see the dynamic between you two. This step is about decoding the pattern that you're caught in. Every dynamic has a hook. There's something you're chasing or something you're trying to feel or prove or avoid. And there's something they're trying to get from you, which makes this dynamic go around. When these things lock together, the pattern starts to run. And that's the part that most people miss. They're too focused on that other person's behavior to see the role that they're actually being pulled into. And when you name your own hook and you name their motive, everything gets very clear. You see what you've been feeding and you see how they're steering. And finally, you understand why it's so hard to get out. So let me show you what this looked like for me. My hook was feeling valuable when someone needed me, and that feeling made me stay or overextend or ignore what didn't feel right. In a healthy dynamic, where that other person was solid, they weren't trying to use me, but I still overgave, I still overserved, and I couldn't let myself rest or receive. And even though they were healthy, I ended up depleted because I was still performing value instead of trusting that I already had it. In an unhealthy dynamic, if that other person was in pain or unstable, they weren't really trying to hurt me, but they leaned too hard, and I felt responsible for fixing things that weren't mine. And because I felt needed, I stayed way longer than I should have. Also feeling depleted, also ending a relationship. In narcissistic dynamics, the need was calculated. They acted helpless on purpose. They used their need to pull me in, and once I was in, they kept me there. Because as long as I felt needed, I kept giving, and they knew that. And unfortunately, when I became depleted, I pushed away good people. And that's just as tragic as being abused by narcissists in the first place. Because I see people get fixated on where they've been hurt, so they don't realize these patterns are still playing out, even with good people. They end up pushing people away and they isolate themselves, and they lose the ability to recognize or trust what's actually good. So once you've seen your pattern, your blind spot, your hook, the dynamic you've been caught in, then you do the real work. You take it back. This step is about understanding the exact way you need to undo your blind spot, because that has shape and it has a function, and it's how you've been built. It's the way that you learn to be safe, the way that you learn to stay connected, and the way that you learn to matter. And because it worked, you kept doing it. And that's why it's a blind spot, because it doesn't feel wrong. It feels like you're doing the right thing. But if you don't bring that pattern into awareness, it just starts running the show and it makes choices for you. For me, I had to stop trying to earn my value by being needed. I had to stop making myself essential to everyone around me. I had to let people figure things out without me, and I had to stop jumping in. What I didn't expect was how exposed that would feel. It felt like no one would ever love me if I stopped performing, and I didn't realize how vulnerable I would feel without constantly trying to prove my worth to everyone around me. It was one of the scariest things I ever had to learn, that I could be loved for who I was rather than what I gave, and it's still the work of my life. That's what reclaiming looks like. You stop outsourcing your worth and you start holding your ground even when it scares you. So once you've profiled yourself, you know your blind spots. Once you've profiled them and you can see their motivation, their level of health, and once you've decoded the dynamic and you're not acting from your pattern anymore, and you've reclaimed your full sense of self, then you decide what to do. This is not an easy step. In fact, this is what I've dedicated the last 20 years of my career to, helping people make this one step easier, clearer, and actually doable in real life. If you've ever been blindsided by someone you thought you could trust, felt powerless in the moment, or walked away realizing that you've just been manipulated, I have something for you. I've taken everything I've learned from over 20 years of work and poured it into a 5-day training. You'll learn how to spot unsafe people before it's too late, hold your ground in tough conversations, and take back control of your life without second-guessing yourself. So start by downloading the free Narcissist Protection Checklist. It's your first step towards safety and empowerment. And when you do, you'll get early access to the full training before it's available to anyone else. Thanks for watching. YouTube thinks you're going to like this video on screen right here. Yeah, that's the one. Click it to learn even more about spotting narcissists and protecting yourself against manipulation so you can live the life that you really deserve. Okay, I'll see you over there.